Right now, I'm going to show you how to make a simple jig for the bandsaw that'll produce a perfect circle of any size. Now, the first thing I want to do is make two rails that'll go on either side of the saw table. And these will be just about the same length as the table itself. I'll cut these to length on the miter saw. Then clamp the rails to the sides of the saw table. Now I'm going to make a top for our jig. It's going to be as wide as the table and extend out maybe a couple of feet. Now I could use just about any material as long as it's relatively smooth and flat. In this case, I'm going to use this high-density particle board known as MDF, or medium density fiberboard. I'll cut it to size on the table saw. Next, I find the center of two opposite sides and connect those points with a straight line. I center the board on the saw table and make a mark at the edge of the bandsaw blade. Then draw a line from that mark to the center line we drew just a moment ago. Now, I turn on the bandsaw and cut along the line we just drew, stopping at the center line. I mark the location of the rails I clamped on earlier and draw lines across the top showing their location. Then drill clearance holes in the MDF. The masking tape acts as a depth guide and also sweeps away the debris from the drill bit. Next, I bore countersinks for each hole and attach the top to the rails with screws, making sure the screw heads are well below the surface. With the rail secured to the top, I can remove the entire assembly and simply slide it into position when I want to use it. Once the jig is in place, I clamp it to the saw table to keep it fixed in position. Now let's say I want to cut a 12-inch circle out of this piece of wood. Well, the first thing I would do is measure from the blade down this line that we drew earlier to 6 inches, which is half the diameter or the radius of the circle, and make a mark. Next, I'll drive a small finish nail on that mark and clip it off at a sharp angle using a pair of diagonal cutters. Then place the blank for the circle up against the blade and drive it down onto the cut-off nail using a hammer or mallet. With the blank in place, I turn on the saw and begin rotating the piece of wood. I continue rotating until the cutout circle is complete, then lift off the scrap. And there we have it, a perfect circle. Now, let's say I wanted to cut a 6-inch diameter circle. I'd simply remove the first nail, drive in another nail on the line 3 inches from the blade, clip it off, put on the blank, and cut the smaller circle. Now, as you can see, this jig can cut a perfect circle of any size.